Tony Smith in the front page of the Express and then on page 5 is suggesting that the EU is punishing Britain or is spiting Britain. Boats crisis is EU revenge for Brexit. And he... It's a sort of nonsense. He was the Director General of the Border Force during a Home Office career, we're told, spanning 40 years. And the only surefire way to stop the boats is to make it clear illegal immigrants will be sent back. Well, we know that France won't take illegal immigrants or immigrants in general back. Why should they? Because we couldn't be bothered to negotiate a new version of the Dublin Protocol, the Dublin 3 Protocol, when we negotiated Brexit. So it's our fault for being so stupid. It doesn't matter whether Natalie Elphicke says we should work together as Europeans on the same continent. Of course we should, but the only way to do that is with an international conference. So there's stuff here talking about Poland's decision that the next election will be about whether or not the new Polish government will accept thousands of, quote, illegal immigrants from the Middle East and Africa. Well, what this tells you is that many countries across Europe are facing and looking at the same issue. Surely, rather than constantly trying to work this out independently, many countries across Europe would welcome an opportunity to get together and redefine the 1951 Refugee Convention. That would solve a lot of the problems. That would then give us a clear legal framework with which to approach migration into the 21st century. Otherwise, we are literally just throwing slogans around and making more of a crisis about the migrant crisis than we actually need to. People will die, and people are dying in the waters of the Channel, but also on the borders of various countries, depending on the decisions that people in their governments make. And to say that Rishi Sunak has fundamentally failed to get a grip and crossings are rocketing on his watch, it's time for a different approach. Yes, absolutely correct. And Stephen Kinnock is absolutely correct that we need a new approach. Stephen Kinnock is as mad as everybody else, talking about we need a new returns deal. Well, Europe isn't going to do a new returns deal. The new returns deal, I'm sure, could be part of a universal approach to migration across the continent. And that would solve a lot of problems. And then maybe we could thrash out how many days grace does somebody have to travel, to be in transit from their home country to the country where they are seeking refuge? Because to put all the pressure on the southern countries of Europe, Greece, Turkey, Spain, is what we have in fact been doing over the last 20 years, and that is unfair and unreasonable. But and that was one of the consequences of the Dublin 3 Protocol. And so we know that those three countries in particular would be only too pleased to renegotiate the terms on which migrants are accepted into Europe and into the northern countries. So, yeah, I was very amused. I was so amused by this newspaper heading as I went into a shop today. I picked up the newspaper and I'm looking around to see what else we've got. Albanians used to account for a large majority, but the numbers have reduced. Gangs are brainwashing migrants into thinking that there will be a crackdown in light of the tragedy. An official in the Albanian capital, Tirana, said there's a shocking spree of messages being sent, which is basically telling Albanians to hurry up and go now before it all becomes impossible. It's vile. Actually, this person, clearly the journalists have only gone to Tirana, and the problem isn't in Tirana. The problem is up in the northern mountains, and talking to somebody in the Albanian capital is so remote from where the problem is. But that's where Suella Braverman has settled her officers. So they are next to useless there. And the Express journalist is next to you. Who is that person? A person called Isaac Crowson. Well, Isaac, go back and do some real work. I'll give you all the connections if you want. Just get in touch.